Good morning, world. Welcome to the Career Cafe podcast brought to you by Talion Academy. My name's Edward.
And I'm Raymond. And on today's episode, we'll be interviewing one of the most recognizable voices in the high desert.
He's the morning show co-host of Cat Country 100.7 and the assistant program director of HD 96.3. Please welcome Mychal Fabela.
Woo! What's up, man? How you doing, man?
Good, how are you?
Good to see you, man. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming. Now, before we get started, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, as you guys introduced, Mychal Fabela. I'm 20, gosh, am I 27 or 20? I'm 27 years old. I continue to forget. As you get older, you will forget how old you are. Yeah, right? It's happening early. 27 years old. I grew up down in Glendora, Covina, California until I moved up here to the high desert in 2004. That's when I went to Serrano High School, played football there, graduated from Serrano High School, and got into radio back in 2009. And I've been there ever since. I just wanted a job, really, and I started at a street team, and now I'm doing what I'm doing. So I love sports, love music, so it's nice to be in a profession where I can listen, to music all the time and different kinds of music. So that's why I'm here.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, well, now I want to know what inspires you to do your job?
To do my job, like in radio, I think the opportunity to make a difference every morning or just every day. I think what I learned, something I didn't know when I was getting into all this thing. Like I said, I just wanted a job and doing a part-time job at street crew, and I was just setting up tents and giving away prizes. And so slowly but surely, I started to go into this on-air thing by doing a sports show. Since I played sports, I started talking about the high schools and coaches that I played against and I played for, and then I started to realize when people would stop me on the street and go, "Hey, you're the guy that does a sports show on the radio." I go, "Wow, people actually listen. This is kind of interesting," because you're just in a box. You have no idea that people are listening, and so when people stop you and they thank you for what you do, or they just recognize all the hard work you put in, it means a lot. So then you start to realize that you have an importance to make a difference, and there's so much negativity going on in the world.
Yeah.
If I could just say one positive thing or play a song that's going to just make someone's bad day better, then that's huge. And I take it as a responsibility, especially for young kids. We heard a story of some kid wearing his hat backwards to dinner, because normally I wear my hat backwards.
Yeah.
And because it's what he hears me do all the time. And so to know that I have that much of an effect on a kid I've never even met before, but he listens to me every morning, I really want to take the responsibility and do the best I can for that kid and whoever listens. I want to make my family proud, and it inspires me to make a positive difference in where I'm at in this community and wherever this takes me.
That's awesome. I know I listen.
Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate that.
Especially my sport.
Now,
Yeah.
how did you get introduced to the street crew? Like when you first started, how did you meet the people?
What's funny is I was in a band and I had long hair and a beard, not as thick as this, but it was a beard. And I was a good friend of mine. Her dad, I was working for her dad at the time, and he had said, "Hey, the radio stations are hiring." He had listened to 106.5 The Fox, which is one of our sister stations.
Yeah.
And they said, "Hey, if you love music, have a driver's license, and you want to get a part-time job," and I was looking for work at the time.
Yeah.
So I, trimmed my beard and cut all my hair off, rock star hair, I guess, and I applied, and that was pretty much it. That's how I heard it. Was an ad on the radio.
Yeah.
And never knew at all. I didn't go to school for any of this. Never knew at all that this would be the outcome 8 years later.
Long
Man,
hair.
looking good.
Thank you. Thank you.
Long hair. I wonder how you look.
Yeah.
I've got pictures. I'll show you after.
Yeah. All right. So, what is the most challenging part of your position?
Oh man, the most challenging part. You said you were going to ask easy questions. Answering questions like that. Work-life balance. There's a lot of things that go on, and as you mentioned, I do the morning show on the country station, and I also do afternoons on the hip-hop radio station, and I'm the assistant program director. So there's a lot of work behind the scenes. When I get off the air, I'm doing a lot of behind-the-scenes work, and it's just making sure that I prioritize all that I need to do. You know what I mean? So that I can be productive in life after radio and have a balance and give 100% while I'm in radio. So balancing all the different things and making sure I'm giving 100% attention to every little detail of the things that people don't hear, after we turn off the microphones in the morning show. That's probably the most challenging thing.
That's crazy.
Besides radio, what other professions or personal goals do you have?
I want to write some more music. One of the coolest things I've ever gotten to do was to be in a band and travel the country, a U.S. tour, 2.5, 3 years ago, and I was able to do radio on the road on a laptop and a microphone, and no one knew I was out of the country, but I was doing shows on Y102 and Cat Country, the sports show I did from Alabama, and everyone thought I was here in Victorville. So I would like to write songs, even if I'm not going to be James Bay or I don't know, Andy Graham or anything like that. I want to write music. That's a passion of mine that I have always had. I got a chance to do radio and music, but I think doing music, traveling for a living, and doing radio shows from whatever state I'm in would be kind of the dream. But I'm super happy where I'm at right now. I just hope to grow in the place where I'm at and to be a sponge and to learn my craft and just to get better.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So any advice for someone who wants to work in the broadcasting sector?
The advice I would give is, hey, you probably didn't know that you could talk for a living, but you can, and don't let anyone tell you that you can't, and get a hold of people like me, or I think social media is such an important part of our lives now. I have my face in my phone all the time, which I need to get better at, but there can be positives to that, where you can find your favorite radio host and just shoot them direct messages and ask them questions. Hey, I want to be like you when I grow up. What did you do to get there? Is there any advice you can give me? And I think the genuine people who really want to pay it forward to the people who helped them get to where they're at now will give, whether it's little hints of advice or a phone call or a message back here or there. I just think you got to go for it. If you love music and you love talking and journalism and broadcasting is something you want to do, then don't let anyone tell you that you shouldn't or couldn't or that it's not a real job, because I didn't go to school for it and I'm doing it for a living. So, and I'm fortunate I met the right people and the right people put me in the right places at the right times, and so there's a lot of that, but I've also worked pretty hard to get where I'm at. And so just work constantly. When other people are sleeping and playing games, put in work, you know what I mean? Wake up earlier and take the steps, whether it's reading online, buying, I don't even know if there's a book like this, but Broadcasting for Dummies or whatever it is. Seriously, any little thing you can to get more information to hone in on that craft. That's what you want to do. Go for it.
Anything you can and just push.
Just push.
That's awesome. You should write that book, though.
I should.
If there's not a book, write it.
Make the extra money on
Have you guys help me? Help me write it.
What is one of the coolest things you've ever done in your job so far?
I got to talk, had the opportunity to talk to Garth Brooks, which was way cool. I was really nervous, and he said my name on the radio, which is funny because normally it's kind of the other way around, when I'm putting people on the radio and they're like, hey, we talked to Mike or Vicky, but Vicky had mentioned the first time I talked to Garth Brooks, I haven't always been into country as much as I am now. I grew up with my mom watching country music television, and I'd watch Joe Nichols and Kenny Chesney and Tim McGraw and stuff like that. But I never had a love for it the way I do now. And I didn't know a lot about Garth Brooks. I knew he was kind of a big deal, but as far as his anthology of music, I had really no idea how big of a deal he was. And then the whole staff at the station, here you go, here's your homework, here's just loads of Garth Brooks music. And so Vicky had mentioned to him on the air, hey, poor Michael, a lot of your songs were written and performed before he was even born. And he said, oh, thanks, Michael, thank you for making me feel old. But it was fun. He's great on the radio. But I had told friends and family afterwards, Garth Brooks said my name on the radio. I felt like the roles were reversed a little bit. So that's probably going to be one of the coolest things I've done.
That's awesome. All right. Do you work more independently or with a team?
It's both. It's both. It's a 50-50 because I would consider Vicky and I a team. In the morning, we can do the show without each other in a sense if she's sick or I'm sick, but it's not the same. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's the relationship we have back and forth. She's like Mama Bear, I'm like a kid, to her, and that's the dynamic that we have. I say the parts that the whole on-air staff in the back. I mean, you guys were able to come in and see the station a little bit. That whole programming staff back there, we're a team. We do individual things, but it's very much like a sports team, and because I've played sports, I really bring that back, and I think in terms of sports, and you have a whole team, but if your whole team's doing their individual job, you guys are going to be successful. Like, if you're successful as an individual,
you're the star, and the people behind you are like the one. You might not see them or hear them, but they're the one that.
Exactly. There's a lot of people like that. There's engineers. There's a lot of people, putting the commercials on and scheduling that stuff. Well, our whole office is a team. You know what I mean? Awesome. And it's really neat to pull back the curtain and to really appreciate those people. people that aren't popping open mics, but if they didn't do what they did, then we wouldn't be able to pop open the microphone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's a whole team. There's moments of being a group, and then there's moments of being individual. And if I'm doing things at the end of the day when no one's there, I'm scheduling music for the hip hop station or things like that. That's where the individuality comes in. But even then, I'm still consulting, my boss and other people that give me guidance as we're kind of figuring things out.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Would you say you prefer one station over the other?
No, because I'd be bored. Only because I go through different phases all the time. I love country music. I come from an acoustic singer-songwriter, oh my gosh.
There's so many.
There's so many. You could say John Mayer or Ben Rector, or I'm a big fan of the band called Thrice and Dustin Kendra's solo stuff. Oh my gosh, I'm really into a girl right now and I can't think of her name, and I will remember it. Phoebe Bridgers is an incredible artist that I love listening to. She's kind of the most recent singer-songwriters I'm listening to right now. But I love hip-hop and R&B. That is very much part of my history and what I listened to growing up. And then classic rock, before I got into anything else, that's all my dad listened to. He doesn't listen to anything past 1987. And so I grew up without knowing my own music, and it was AC/DC and the Cars and Rush.
That's how my
you know
mom
what I
was,
mean?
yeah.
So that's what I grew up with. So I'm fortunate that I work for radio stations that have every single format in one building. So if I want to listen to classic rock, I can. Country, hot AC, Y102, or talk radio, I can listen to all those things. And so I think if it was just one, essentially I wouldn't be bored, but it's nice to have the diversity and the opportunity to change around.
Yeah. That's all. All right, so I want to touch on the topic. What type of events do you do?
What type of events do I do? Well, this weekend I'll be doing a live broadcast at a barbershop, so that's pretty cool, and that's where we get to go out live. And I love doing those type of events because then I get to meet people.
Yeah.
I get to meet the people that listen every morning, like you guys and stuff. And we throw women's expos. Our biggest event is Trunk or Treat, and that's where we have oh my gosh, how many people? In the thousands of people that come.
Going to one.
Yeah, it's busy. You guys were there, this past year, and so you saw how busy it is. I love those events because you get to meet everyone and you get to be on stage, and that's one of the funnest parts for me. When I get to MC an event, I could just be myself, be goofy, and get the show moving along. I've done beauty pageants in Barstow before, but those are the type of events I do. Whether they're station events or I'm MCing a car giveaway or things like that, or just doing a live broadcast of a new business that's opening up. Those are the type of things I get to go out and do.
And when you go on these events, or even when you're in the studio, what type of equipment / setup do you have with you?
When we go out, we do a live broadcast setup, so it's kind of interesting. If we were to if you go to our remote this weekend, you'll see a tent. This is the job I started out doing. You'll see a tent, you'll have a table, we'll have prizes out and prize wheel to give away prizes, and then you'll see a little black box that you'll plug in, and pretty much that's going to be used as an interface to make a phone call sound more clear. So you'd call the studio up on just a normal cell phone, plug it into that black box, and that black box has a live microphone that I could talk into. So I'm talking into this black box, into the cell phone, back to the studio. It makes it sound better quality, but I'm actually on site. So those are the type of things. We have little portable sound speakers, so it's really not an expensive setup. It's easy to set up. One person can do it. We normally go out in teams of 2, but that's the setup we use to broadcast live. It's a lot of fun.
That's awesome. Mm-hmm. All right, so what is it like being a local celebrity such as yourself?
Someone told you to write that.
No, that was me, and then he told me, definitely put that.
Oh man, it's so funny. My family would tell you that none of that's true because I'm just a geek and not cool. But you know what? It's like I go back to one of the first questions you asked me. It's such a fun thing to go out to coffee or anywhere else and someone recognizes you for what you do. And I'm just I'm just a regular guy, man. I know a lot of people say that if they're on the radio or they do movies and stuff, but I really am. I live in a house, and I live with my brother. I play games, I go watch movies, I get a paycheck. I'm normal, but it's a lot of fun to have people come up to you and say, hey, I listen to your show and you and Vicky make me laugh every morning. I was having a rough day, but you played the right song. And I think that's a lot of fun because if you're working working hard, you're working by yourself, you don't really get to see kind of the fruits of your labor. And so I think this job, because you're out in the public and your life is so open, you get to a little taste of what you're doing and people's appreciation for it. So that's, I guess, the most the most fun. And then sometimes, when you just want to go incognito, the cool thing about radio is they don't see your face. So they don't know who you are. So you might be able to go under the radar and slide as long as you don't talk too loud. But of course, my family would tell you I don't shut up and I talk really loud. So I kind of blow my cover a lot. But it's a lot of fun, man. I enjoy doing what I do.
That's amazing.
Now, for at least my last question, what would you say is the best part of your job?
I get a lot of free food. That's cool. My weight has fluctuated over the years because of it, but you know what? I've met a lot of friends. I met a lot of really cool friends. Nolan from Feelin is one of them that I've gotten to meet over the past few years, and I think that's the nature of the job. I'm a person that loves to meet new people and build relationships, and this job allows me to do that all the time. It has been since I was street crew, so a lot of the people that will come in with their businesses and that I'm interviewing were like, man, we saw you doing a live broadcast and setting up the equipment 5 years ago, and look at you doing this morning show thing. But that's gotta be the funnest part.
That's awesome. Well, I think we're all out of questions here, and that's gonna do it.
Okay.
Thank you for coming out, man.
Thank you so much.
Awesome.
All right, appreciate you guys. Thank you. All right. I'm Mychal Fabela. Thank you so much for having me on the podcast. Of course, you can find me on social media, on Twitter, on Instagram, Facebook, at Mychal Fabela. It's spelled MychalFabela. You can, of course, follow the radio stations that I'm on every single day at Cat Country 100.7, at HD 96.3 on Instagram. Follow us on Facebook, too. And thank you for having me.
Thank you for tuning in. You can find us at Feelin Academy on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and at YouTube. Thank you for watching.
Thank you for
And I
watching.
have one more thing. What's my new name on the air?
DJ Fun Dip.
Woo!